Live from KHOU 11, your news starts now.
Now at 6, heavy rain is moving across the area to start the holiday weekend. Our TransStar cameras captured this view from I-69 at Dunleavy around 4 this afternoon. It shows slick roads and gray skies. Meanwhile, at Herman Park, the rain was coming down hard, making visibility tough. Meanwhile, in Galveston, a day at the beach took a scary turn when a water spout moved in. Viewers sent in videos and photos showing the water spout near the seawall and 45th Street around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Thankfully, no injuries or damage were reported. Meteorologist Pat Kavlin joining us now with more on that water spout and what the rest of this holiday weekend is going to look like. Pat.
Unfortunately, it's going to be an active one. Yeah, we've got more rain and storms on the way for tomorrow, but I just want to talk about that water spout real quick. That was a really photogenic water spout. Again, happened earlier this afternoon down on Galveston Island. We got tons of photos, tons of videos into the newsroom from our viewers. And again, this happened around 45th Street and Seawall Boulevard. It went through the beach. There were umbrellas picked up and lofted into the air. A couple of chairs were thrown around as well. Again, though, as Cheryl mentioned, thankfully, nobody was injured. As we get you over to radar, I want to show you something real quick, though. It's the velocity signature. There it is. And check this out. So this was at 12:57 this afternoon. And there's a lot going on here, so let's just get our bearings quick. This is Galveston Island, right? This is Seawall Boulevard right here. Okay, and so what we're looking at is what we typically show you for tornado detection. A water spout is a similar phenomena. It's just a tornado over water, and typically they're a lot weaker, but sometimes they can be strong enough to cause damage if they move on shore. Thankfully, that wasn't the case with this one. But you can see the winds on the radar were estimated upwards of 60 miles per hour. So again, a pretty stout little water spout that moved on shore there, but thankfully, again, no injuries and no significant damage reported, but just kind of a cool shot there on radar and some really great photos and videos. We're going to have more on that in just a second. It has been a very rainy afternoon, though, for us in the city. Flood advisory still in effect for downtown Houston. This entire green outline area, so that includes Houston, Pasadena, and all the way south and west towards Sugar Land as well. But you can see these storms are really starting to fall apart now. Still a couple of flashes of lightning and some heavier downpours as you go farther towards the north and west, out towards Katy, places like Cypress as well. As you get up towards the Tomball area, we're seeing maybe a couple of lightning flashes up there near Spring also, but that's pretty much it. The rain totals, though, have been impressive. We've seen a lot of ponding on roadways. On average, the radar estimates have ranged between 2.5 and 3.5 inches on both sides of the city, and even including downtown here. So pretty much everyone within the loop saw quite a bit of rainfall this afternoon, and that is, again, all starting to wind down. In fact, even a few breaks of sunshine starting to pop out. It's a 95 degrees today around noon, 2 degrees warmer than normal, and then once the rain kicked in, those temperatures started to drop. Your sunset tonight at 7:46, getting earlier and earlier every day. 85 right now, still very muggy out there, so it feels more like 92 degrees with the clouds and the thunder. Here's a look at future track for tomorrow now. Things will get busy again as early as mid-morning. Notice, though, even around sunrise, a couple of spotty downpours down towards the coast, but keep an eye on what's happening up north. This complex of storms will come in, and again, by midday tomorrow, 11, 12, 1 o'clock, we're talking about some pretty widespread downpours and thunderstorms on future track. We'll see if this pans out, but if it does, I think tomorrow is unfortunately looking like a bit of a washout. By the evening, so 4, 5, 6 o'clock, the bulk of this is out of Harris County and then moving towards the coast. And then once we get into the overnight, everything starts to dry out. Labor Day does look a lot better. So there's the good news for Monday. We'll start off with a mix of sunshine and clouds. I think we'll hang on to sunshine for a good part of the day. Just a few isolated storms not out of the question. But overall, Monday looks a lot drier than what we're going to see for the day on Sunday. 80% widespread downpour and thunderstorm chances for tomorrow. We drop then to an isolated 30% chance Monday, and from there we trend a lot drier as we get into the middle of the week. So for the overnight, we dry things out, we're warm and muggy. As we get into tomorrow, that stationary boundary is still over us, and so that's going to add as the focus for all these storms to develop. That's why tomorrow is going to be so active. I think as we get to Monday, that boundary starts to fall apart and push south. We're left with just an isolated storm chance and a mix of sun and clouds. But look what's coming in from the north. Another cold front, and this one looks to actually get into the area by Tuesday and Wednesday. I think that may try to bring us a drop in humidity here. Again, by that time frame. So probably by Tuesday, you're going to notice a drop in the humidity, but also we finally start to try and clear things out. We'll get a break from all these rainy conditions as we get into the upcoming week. Getting into the beginning of September, cold air, or at least below normal temperatures, really holding on to a good part of the country here, focused across the Great Lakes, but it could spill as far south as us here in southeast Texas. I think temperatures will stay near normal. Our average this time of year is 93. So when you see these lighter blue shades, it means there's a small chance we could see some below normal temperatures. So what does that realistically mean for us? Instead of it being 93, maybe it's 91 or 92 degrees. So it's not a big cool down. The farther north you go, though, the cooler the temperatures are going to be. But for us, at least we're not breaking records as we get into September. In the tropics, we've got one area that we're watching. It's going to be a wave coming off the west coast of Africa here in the next few days. 30% chance, a low probability for development right now, and that's within the next 7 days. I do think, though, that'll be the spot to watch here, because looking down the road towards the middle of September, things do become a little more active, especially here in the middle of the Atlantic. That's spot number one. The other spot that we're going to keep an eye on is the southern Gulf into the western Caribbean here. Low chance for any storms to develop, but that along with the middle of the Atlantic will be the two spots to watch. But it's really, I think, the main development region that we're going to keep the closest eye on. Even though it's a quiet end to August, we will be watching these waves come off the west coast of Africa. I think this is the one with the 30% chance by September 9th. Starts to move closer towards the U.S. I do think it'll eventually go back out to sea, but still, that'll be one to watch. And then we'll have more waves coming off the west coast of Africa, again, in that time frame. So things should start to pick up in the tropics as we get towards the middle part of the month. All right, here's a look at your 7-day forecast. We've highlighted tomorrow not as a weather impact alert day, but just as a day to watch. It's going to be an active day. We're going to see widespread downpours and storms. Not a great day to be outside. Labor Day Monday definitely looking a lot better. Just an isolated chance. Temperatures back to the low 90s. And we'll stay in the low to mid 90s here through the middle of the week. So again, no big cool down on the way. But with a small drop in humidity, I think the afternoons will feel better and the overnight temperatures should drop at least into the lower 70s instead of the mid to upper 70s. Good news, though, a good stretch of weather here with little in the way of rain chances. Cheryl?
All right. Looking forward to that, Pat. Thank you. Hey, check out this cell phone video from Rick Harper, who lives near 45th Street in Galveston. Now, he told me that he was in the backyard shooting hoops with his son when out of nowhere, this water spout just dropped out of the sky.
I take a shot and my eyes go from the basketball to the sky, and I see this, what I thought at first was a jet stream, but then I looked closer and I could tell it was twisting. And so I was just like, what is this? And I looked right over the house, and there's this giant, twister water spout that's right there in front of us. It was incredible, amazing.
Had you ever seen anything like this?
But nothing like this. I mean, it was like it was in my backyard. And what was crazy, I took the shot and it was just right there in my face, and I made the shot, by the way, too. I should probably point that out.
All right, congratulations. All right, his son was honest, let him know he made that shot. Rick says he hurried to get his family outside to see the water spout spinning over the beach not far from their house until, within minutes, it disappeared. A terrifying night for two sisters in the Aldine area. They say a stranger tried to break into their home before dying just outside of their door. Michelle Choi spoke exclusively with the women and obtained surveillance video of the aftermath you'll see only on KHOU 11.
Daylight reveals the damage left behind at this duplex along Bluebell Road, a shattered window that Houston police say was smashed by a man trying to break in around 2 a.m. Saturday. At first, investigators treated it as a possible homicide, but later determined the man bled out after severely cutting his arm on the broken glass. Responding officers said they found him unconscious, not breathing, and surrounded by blood. His death has since been ruled accidental. Overnight, the scene swarmed with police. Surveillance video from a nearby neighbor obtained exclusively by KHOU 11 captured the aftermath, showing officers surrounding the suspect on the ground.
Teníamos miedo que nos mataran o nos hicieran daño.
Inside the duplex, two sisters. They asked we not show their faces, but invited us in to share what happened.
Were you scared?
Yes, mucho.
The older sister said they feared the man would kill them, and it all started with him pounding on their back door, shouting.
Puerta dijeron, open the door, only open the door.
She says he then smashed the window. Terrified he'd get inside, they hid in another room and called police.
Imaginándonos muchas cosas que podían pasar.
The younger sister said once everything was over, they imagined the worst and how bad things could have been if he had gotten inside.
Un momento de segundos.
The sisters say they don't know who the man is, and while they were scared and still shaken, they're also sad about the outcome, reflecting that you can lose your life in an instant depending on the decisions you make. In Aldine, Michelle Choi, KHOU 11 News.
It's been 3 days since tragedy struck a Minneapolis Catholic school, and last night, hope and healing were on display.
When we're going to see our loved ones next. And we thank you, Lord. Most importantly, we thank you for taking our sins to the cross.
Hundreds came to pay their respects to the victims. What started with a few flowers has turned into dozens of bouquets, notes, candles, and more outside of Annunciation Catholic Church. Sadly, 2 children were killed and 18 others hurt. One neighbor says it's a pain that cuts deep because she once cared for one of the victims.
They are our neighbors, and we've known them since they moved in. So I flew back. I go to school in Tennessee and no one knows about any of it. And I flew back this morning so I could be here. I used to watch one of them for years.
This morning, authorities are still going through information on the suspected shooter, who police say had, quote, some deranged fascination with previous mass shootings. Meanwhile, Minneapolis police say they are increasing patrols around churches and schools. Well, President Trump says a long-sought meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is not expected to happen. The announcement comes as a federal appeals court struck down most of the president's recently imposed tariffs. Willie James Ingram has the latest.
Less than 2 weeks after meeting at the White House with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and after repeated vows to push for a meeting between Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
And they should meet, I think, before I have a meeting and probably close the deal.
President Trump now says a bilateral meeting between Putin and Zelensky is unlikely to occur. He made the remarks Friday during an interview with the Daily Caller. The president also said during the interview that a trilateral meeting will happen without specifying when. The president's comments come as the leaders of Germany and France met this week to discuss Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron said Russia's President Putin would be duping President Trump if he fails to commit by Monday to meet with Zelensky. Members of the Trump administration insist the president is doing all he can to end the war.
President Trump inherited President Biden's war, and he's working steadfastly to end the killing, and that's something that everyone in the world should celebrate.
In other global news, the Trump administration faced a setback on Friday after a federal appeals court ruled that most of President Trump's tariffs are illegal. According to the ruling, the law the president invoked when he handed down reciprocal tariffs does not explicitly give him the power to do so. The court's decision does not go into effect until mid-October, allowing time for an appeal. In a statement, Attorney General Pam Bondi called the decision wrong and said the DOJ would appeal the case to the Supreme Court. Willie James Emmons, CBS News, the White House.
Taking a look at some of today's other top stories. Starting Monday, electricity bills in Houston are going up. For a typical home using 1,000 kilowatt hours, the average monthly charge will jump from about $49 to nearly $63. This increase comes from a higher transition and distribution fee set by CenterPoint. Now, these seasonal rates take effect every fall and usually drop again in March. The FDA released new guidelines for who should get the updated COVID-19 vaccine. It now targets adults 65 and older and anyone with conditions like asthma, heart disease, diabetes, or pregnancy that raise the risk of severe illness. Doctors can still give the shot off-label to others, but the CDC's vaccine panel will decide next month who should get it. That ruling will determine if insurance covers the cost when doses roll out this fall. And in Houston, a group of local kids got a special back-to-school treat, shopping with a pro. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins and his organization, the Chosen Foundation, teamed up with Dick's Sporting Goods to give 8 kids from In Cause, a program that mentors young youth through sports, $400 each to get gear, clothes, and all of their back-to-school essentials.
It feels phenomenal. You know, that's my reason. That's my why. You know, just to see the excitement. You know, and have them knowing like I could give back to you guys. I'm willing to do it no matter what. You know. That's my mission, man. I just want to get back to the youth, you know, because you never know. Everybody comes in different situations. You know, everybody's situation is different. So I feel like no matter what, you always get back and make their life, you know, just a little easier.
After shopping, the kids and their families got one-on-one time with Collins, learning the importance of healthy disagreement and how to prevent violence in today's world. Well, Crosby was sizzling this morning as the Union Labor Day barbecue cook-off fired up. The holiday celebrates the hard work and sacrifices of American workers, and today, union members mark the occasion with brisket, ribs, and community. The event kicked off with a Women of Labor breakfast and panel discussion of workers' rights before shifting to the main action, adult and kids cook-offs. By the way, winners will be announced later this evening. As folks enjoyed their 3-day weekend, thousands of Texans are hitting the road, whether that's to visit family or the beach. And here's a look at the busiest travel times regardless. According to AAA, tomorrow is the best way to beat traffic, and that's to start early, before 11 a.m. By noon, traffic builds and stays heavy through 5 p.m. And on Monday, the best time to drive is before noon, with backups expected from about 1 to 4 in the afternoon. Whatever you're doing for Labor Day weekend, authorities are stressing one key message. If you're drinking, well, make a plan to get home safely. Starting this weekend, TxDOT has kicked off its Drive Sober, No Regrets campaign to target drunk drivers. Law enforcement officers are out in force.
Since 2017 through 2023, we have on average about 187 deaths here in Harris County. Statewide, they have about 1,053 in 2024. That's too many lives, ladies and gentlemen. So we all play a part. We all have to do what we can. You've heard our message. Law enforcement, the district attorney's office are going to be out in force this weekend. Make the right decision, have a plan, and get home safely.
Beyond the risk of taking a life, including your own, a DUI can also bring serious legal consequences. We're talking jail time, the loss of your driver's license, and fines and fees that can go up to $17,000. On top of extra patrols this weekend, judges will also be on call to sign blood draw orders for DUI suspects. All right, Pat, people are headed out and about this weekend. One more check of that weekend weather. A little rainy, right?
Tomorrow's not great. Yeah,
Okay.
Tomorrow I think we're going to see some pretty widespread downpours and storms. So we've just kind of highlighted the day in red to give you a heads up. Hopefully it's not terrible all day, but that will definitely be the rainiest day that we see besides today. Monday looks a lot better. We'll just see an isolated chance for Monday. And then we do start to trend drier. We've got really nice weather coming up, of course, for the middle of the week when everyone's back to work. But still, sunshine, temperatures are going to be hot still, but I think we'll get a little bit of a drop in humidity, which will take the edge off of the heat, at least during the afternoons. Little heads up here tonight, we've got our KHOU 11 Hurricane Special, Eye on the Storm. Houston's fight to weather what's next. It is a year's worth of reporting on hurricanes designed to help you stay informed whenever a storm heads our way. That is going to air on TV tonight at 7 p.m., right after Wheel of Fortune. So about 40 minutes away. And of course, you can stream it anytime on KHOU 11+.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for this digital newscast at 6. We'll have much more for you coming up tonight on TV at 10 o'clock. See you then.